It's the Thursday evening before another Auburn football game. The matchup at hand this time, Auburn versus Mississippi State. Interesting matchups have happened in the past here. Two teams at the bottom of the SEC. Who will rise from the bottom to the not so bottom by the end of this matchup? We're going to break it all down here. Little preview and predictions. Obviously, a lot of your input coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As is always the case, we'd love for you to start off the show by making sure that you smash that like button. Of course, we've earned it. That's the caveat there. If you don't think we've earned it, understand that you won't smash that like button. We appreciate that you would. Here on YouTube, here on Facebook, whether you're watching live, replay, whatever format, time frame that you got here, do that to help us get started. And of course, you can post where you're watching from, your city, your state, if you're international with a War Eagle. And if we have any Hail State Bulldogs here this evening, let us know that you're here too. Probably won't be taking any phone calls or opening the phone lines up for them this evening, but we'd love to hear from any of you rough puppies. The whole Hail State thing kind of throws me off a little bit, I'll be honest with you. But hey, look, we've got War Eagle and we're the Tigers. I acknowledge there's a little bit of a weirdness to that too, but it's still good stuff all the way around. So we got a couple people already checking in. We got Kevin here saying War Eagle and Rob checking in still at the office. Thank you for tuning in from the office. You guys, of course, say hello as you pop in. Would love to acknowledge a few of you as we get things going on tonight's live stream. What's on tap for you this evening? For those of you that like to check in real quick to see if it's worth your time and head out, we're going to spend the next roughly an hour going through a full preview and prediction. We're going to talk about, the stories about this game, what's happening for both of these programs. We're going to talk a little bit about what the matchup might look like. The team's leaders on both sides statistically, even though they may not be great for Auburn, what they've been doing this season. Then we're going to actually look at some statistics in terms of how the teams are performing offensive and defensively. And what that will do is then we will talk through different scenarios on offense, defense, and special teams. And hopefully by the end of this, you will have had a better opportunity to make a more well-rounded and informed opinion about what your score prediction should be. So I'm going to warn you the first time, for those of you that are watching live, not warn, like you're going to get in trouble if you do this, but save your predictions till the end, your score predictions. Excuse me. We will be asking for some other predictions throughout the stream tonight, but we'll be taking those score predictions at the end, and I will offer mine at that time. So that is what is on tap for you this evening, and we appreciate you guys joining us to talk about all these things. I'd like to start off by taking the temperature of the room, because most of you who are regulars here know that we did not do our Wednesday night live stream last night. Call-in show had a family matter that had to be handled last night. Nothing major, anything like that. Just one of those nights you kind of go, it's better to not go live and keep things going on here. So we are sorry that we were not able to go live and kind of maybe get some of that initial, feelings about what's going on in Auburn football right now out. But this would be a good time to maybe tell me what you're thinking about. What is on your mind? What are you hopeful about? What are you not hopeful about? I mean, let's just be honest. This is probably where I'll start my discussion part tonight. How good is it to be done with that gauntlet? I forget which commentator, it's like a national commentator, that made the statement about, I think it was, maybe it was it Georgia? Anyway, they made the statement that some other team they had never seen a 4-game stretch like that for whoever he was talking about. And several Auburn fans and even other commentators said, dude, did you look at who Auburn just played 4 games in a row? I mean, seriously, you had Georgia, back up, Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, and then Ole Miss. And the last 3 there were some of the best offenses in the country. And of course, the SEC. And somehow, some way, even with a 4-game losing streak, Auburn kind of earned a little respect in some of those instances. Now, that Texas A&M game boy, was that a rough start. As I say, rough here with the Mississippi State fans maybe tuning in. That did not look good. What was impressive was how Auburn responded at Georgia. LSU, after a bye week, not so much, and nearly took down a top 15 Ole Miss team at home. Few things go differently, and you just never know what might happen in the particular game. So even with Auburn's offensive struggles, its questions at quarterback, somehow, some way, you didn't get demolished in every single aspect of that gauntlet. But nonetheless, it takes away from what Auburn just went through and what it's now about to move into. So no disrespect to the Mississippi State fans this evening. No disrespect as we kind of move into the next few weeks against Vanderbilt, against New Mexico. Well, disrespect there, I guess. New Mexico State. Who else do I forget? Arkansas. Arkansas, I am a little bit worried about. And of course, Alabama. It's the Iron Bowl. You never take it for granted on either side. If you do, you're an idiot. I'm just going to say that right there. So it can literally go either way. Auburn obviously is starting to get a few people back in terms of injuries. We saw that in the last game versus Ole Miss with literally, well, I wouldn't say literally because I don't know exactly every injury, but seemed like basically all of their defensive back unit was back. I mean, when I went through the starting lineup as we were watching it from the upper deck last week, and you just heard the names being rattled off: Zion Puckett, Nehemiah Pritchett, Donovan Kaufman, DJ James, everybody was there. It just felt like, man, we're starting to get a little bit of momentum back. Not quite the amount that we needed, though. So we'll see how maybe some more come into the fold. Even Kevin points out here that Amari Alston says he's back. I don't think it's been confirmed, Kevin. He did. It was reported that I saw last. I will tell you, I've been a little bit out of the news cycle this week here at the house, but Amari Alston reportedly may be back for this particular game. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. I would love to see him back in the mix in the rotation with Jarquez Hunter, with Brian Battie, with Jeremiah Cobb, because they were getting time for all of those guys, even when everybody was healthy. When Jarquez came back after his one game, we'll call it suspension. I don't know if it was ever officially a suspension publicly, but it clearly didn't play for one game. So we'll see what happens there. Neil points out the obvious here. If Auburn loses to Mississippi State, whoa, boy. I did. Let me take this and spin it real quick, though. I found this interesting the other day that someone, I wish I had done a better job of paying attention who said these things this week, because even though I was checked out a lot this week from news cycle stuff, I still tried to kind of check in when I could. They made the comparison that it seemed like the backslide for the program happened 2 years ago in the Mississippi State game, which I was there for. I will never forget sitting in that stadium, because I think it was, I forget the timeline of events, but I think we had just come off a good win. Looked like we were about to bounce back against Mississippi State. We're in control, and then somehow that comeback for them happened, and we just watched it unravel. And since that point, it's just been absolutely awful. So Mississippi State, while it began this backslide for the program, could also, if we can take care of business, which I'm sorry, Mississippi State fans, is what the expectation is for Auburn at home. Been very tough to beat at home, even in the state that they're currently in. If they can take care of business, this may be the beginning of maybe a trend in the right direction. It would be very, is the word fortuitous, or just interesting to see if that lines up and if that keeps happening. See a lot of you guys starting to check in. Thanks for popping in here with us. Efficient Gaming even says, if we do lose Mississippi State, that is indeed whoa boy. But what if we win the next 4? Why not? Why are you stopping at 4? Look, game by game, week by week, day by day at this point with this program right now. And that's not a shot. That's just the reality of where things are at this point. Auburn was up big on Mississippi State that year and completely came undone. And the program came undone at that point. That was truly a day of reckoning. I will never forget sitting there in the upper deck after that game with a friend and just trying to process what was happening, what just happened. I'm like, what? So Look, Will Rogers is a great quarterback, and last I checked, there is still some uncertainty about whether he will play in this game, which should bode well for Auburn. But that was the introduction for Auburn fandom into Will Rogers, and he is a difference maker for Mississippi State, even in a different offense. So if he's not there, ooh, boy, it could make a big difference for Auburn. You left at the end of the third. Well, not to one up you, sir, and act like I'm a better fan, but I never leave unless I actually have to for reasons. So, but I understand people that need to get out of town and stuff like that. I hope and wish everybody will stay through, stick it out. But everybody's got their things. To me, it's almost like I'm a glutton for punishment sometimes. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Unbeaten Lake says, was it when Bo got injured or Mississippi State scored that late second quarter touchdown when it all started? I mean, it was everything. Yeah, that's when Bo got hurt. That's when, the fact that we were rolling in that game, the fact that we were just in control, Bo gets hurt, and then we just fall apart. Go figure. I don't know. I just don't know. We would be remiss if we did not mention the 3-2 game. I've told this story before. Bear with me a second. Let me tell you again, because this is the part of the show where we're just kind of talking about the matchup, the history, all that stuff. By the way, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was like in the 60s to the 20s in terms of like 60-20 ratio but Auburn had been in the 60s in terms of wins in this matchup, and Mississippi State had been in like the high 20s, clearly in favor of Auburn. And if I think I may be saying Ole Miss and Mississippi State interchangeably tonight, just bear with me, please. Yes, that 3-2 game. I have never in my life been more upset after an Auburn win. That was, looking back in your life and you're like, that stuff's way too important to you. That was the day I should have woke up to the fact that Auburn football was way too important to me. I mean, I just threw a fit in this downstairs room. No one was there. I even said, nobody come down. I gotta just yell some things and just be upset. Like, I threw a fit downstairs in that room, just trying to fathom what I just saw. How did Auburn, first of all, get in a position to win this type of game? But second of all, why did we even fall into that position? It was confounding. It was confusing. It was hurtful. And it will forever live in infamy. Auburn 3-2, 2008. What a year. What a game. What a memory. Tuberville's last year as well. Yep. Made a very poor decision, apparently, on offensive coordinators, and that was all they needed to finally get Tuberville out of there. They had been trying to get Tuberville out of there for years. They failed one attempt, and that was all they needed. Sometimes that's all you needed. So kind of like you need a excuse of a weird pandemic year to get a coach out when you shouldn't, to reel your team into further decline. But that's not what we're talking about here. Anyway, so the 3-2 matchup. I will say there's been some really good games between Auburn and Mississippi State. Every once in a while, they'll get a really good star player like a Dak Prescott that changes the game for them, especially at quarterback. And, they've had a good history with, as much as we don't like him, Cousin Eddie. Help me. Somebody help me. I'm drowning. The coach. Oh, gosh. I can't even remember. Y'all tell me in just a second. Went to Florida. Trying to forget him, complained about Cam Newton, how we cheated and stole him from that. I've been to Starkville, and those cowbells are annoying, but it creates a good home field advantage for them. Thankfully, we're in Jordan here. I'll bring up on screen here in a second because we do need to start talking about stuff about this particular matchup, game times, statistics, all that stuff. So we'll get that in just a little bit here. Tuberville was his own worst enemy. The guy had some of the best players I've ever seen at Auburn. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but yeah, I mean, he made a poor choice in the offensive coordinator. That is very clear. Mullen, thank you. I knew I've tried to block that from my memory, I guess. Dan Mullen, all that kind of stuff. All right, let's move into it. You guys keep asking questions, comments, smash the like button if you haven't done that already. It's a huge help for helping the stream continue to grow and grow our Auburn family. And by the way, folks, for those of you that have watched the band's performance of the Metallica show from last Saturday night. I don't know if you've seen how well it's doing on this channel. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. It is our highest viewed video of all time, and it is going bonkers. It's even higher on Facebook and stuff. So thank you guys so much for checking that out. And please do continue to support the band when they when this contest thing becomes official. Do whatever they need you to do. If it's go watch their video of it, vote on them. We need to support the band in their ventures to, to win this contest, because it was an incredible, incredible show. All right, we're going to bring up onto the screen right now. I'm going to do this in two different, there we go. What I'm showing you is ESPN page. Again, I apologize for any ads, stuff like that. I don't have control of them because we're just doing a share screen right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk through a little bit about the game, the matchup. Mississippi State Bulldogs 4-3, 1-3 in the conference. Auburn, 3-4, 0-4. So when you look at that record alone, you're like, hey man, Mississippi State's in a better position. But then if you look at who they played versus who we played, that gauntlet will kill anybody in Auburn's position or Mississippi State's position. So if they were in our shoes, probably would be the same result. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Game will played on SEC Network at on 10/28 Saturday, 2:30 kickoff Central Time. I was very shocked that we got the 2:30 kickoff, to be frank with you. I thought for sure they were going to slot us in the 11 o'clock, which means you can go ahead and bet that the with Vanderbilt game, I think being at 3, excuse me, you can probably bet for New Mexico State to be an 11 a.m. kickoff, and probably the 2:30 will be an Iron Bowl kickoff. I don't know what they'll do for Arkansas, but if we're still in a bad way, they might put us at 11 o'clock there too. I think we got our last night game for Auburn out of the way this last weekend. If you look at the percentage confidence for who's going to win this game, in Auburn's favor by 62.7% to Mississippi State's 37%. Seems about right. Honestly, they're probably giving us a little bit more credit than most people would here on this fan predictor or ESPN analytics thing. If you guys disagree, let me know. What do you think? Do you think it should be higher? Do you think it should be lower? Thoughts on the game time, that type of things. We'll keep the screen share up here and go through some more information here. And then we'll come back, talk through some of your comments, and we'll get started with our predictions part of this show. Games will be played in Jordan here at 2:30. Kickoff is going to be, now it's rain, it says. I didn't look at the forecast, but last I checked, it was supposed to be 80s, low 80s, which was going to feel almost like a summer day up there in the upper deck. But with rain, that's obviously going to go down. So we'll have to see what happens there. Could be a very blustery day on the plains. The line is at 6.5 if you care about such things for betting and things like that. We're just talking about it in terms of, what the likelihood of Auburn winning and by what. And look at that over under, folks. 41. They do not expect a ton of points in this game. With Auburn and that expected win margin, you can kind of do the math there. That probably puts you in the doing quick math here, 15 to 20, 24 to 17 victory would probably, that'd be a little bit farther of a margin, but you can kind of guess what is expected there. Look at the leaders here on the screen. Who is the leaders in the different categories before we get moving on to team stats? Will Rogers, if he is back, I have not heard confirmed if he has improved. He was out last game, which is part of the reason why they struggled so much offensively in a 7-3 win, very close to the Auburn 3-2. But he is at 1,200, almost 1,300 yards on the year, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So obviously with them trying to throw, even under a new offense, a little bit more with Will Rogers, he's still been a little bit more interception prone. That'll probably increase with Auburn's defensive back group. Peyton Thorne, they're starting to improve in terms of stats, in terms of yards and stuff, but a 5 touchdown, 5 interception ratio, 1 touchdown for every interception, that is not good. We've already talked about that till we're blue in the face. Rushing yards, marks for them is at 500 yards exactly, 4 touchdowns. Jarquez had a great game last go round, now at 5 touchdowns, 309 yards on the year. Griffin is their leading receiver at almost 500 yards. Jay Fair is our leading receiver at 250, barely almost a 250 really. So those are your leaders. That's your game time, your line, your over under, all that stuff. Continue to drop your comments in about things that you're thinking about that. And you can see in the headline up here that Mississippi State's Will Rogers is uncertain at this time. Last thing that we want to look at here is the team's stats and all of those things. And we'll talk to you and get some predictions underway. Looking at the stats, total yards for both teams, almost even, pretty even across the board. The difference is Mississippi State, 200 yards passing, Auburn's 150 passing, rushing, 148 for Mississippi State, 186 for Auburn. More rushing for Auburn, more passing for Mississippi State. That should not surprise you. Yards allowed, almost identical. Again, is it not shocking that these two teams that are struggling as much as they are have found almost the exact same stats in terms of total things, right? When you look at the breakdown amongst where they're allowed, pretty similar as well. Mississippi State allows more passing yards, so does Auburn. It's a little bit tighter, though, in terms of where it kind of falls in with Auburn's allowed. They allow currently more yards than Mississippi State. So we'll see how that all fleshes out. We've talked about Auburn's gauntlet. You can see it down there at the bottom, who they played. Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M, back to Sanford was their last win. Mississippi State has beaten Arkansas, Western Michigan, then lost to Alabama, South Carolina, and LSU. They did take South Carolina down to the wire and nobody else. So with that in mind, you should have a pretty good idea about what to expect from both of these teams statistically, what to expect from their leaders, who to expect, game time, weather, all that stuff. All of those things are something to consider. Everybody say hello to our friend from his Georgia show. Good to see you, Randy. Thanks for hanging out with us. And good luck. Well, I would say good luck, but I don't know that we're technically wishing good luck to Georgia at this point. If you were playing Bama, we might be wishing you good luck. But thanks for hanging out with us a little bit tonight. It is there, and they're the greatest cocktail party in the South is what it's called. If Florida was good, I'd probably be rooting for, like, if Florida was higher ranked than y'all, I'd be rooting for y'all. Not so much here, the rivalry still runs deep. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll keep it on Auburn, Mississippi State for now. Let's see what you guys were talking about. We're going to go ahead and I can't. It's on Twitch. So sorry for you guys seeing that little bot in there. I don't know if it's appearing on everybody's screen, but it appears on mine. We'll go ahead and ban him a little bit later. Efficient Gaming said, I think it's 41 for the over-under is a lot considering both offenses. When you think about it and you break it down, it kind of is. But that's been much lower than a lot of other matchups that Auburn has had. And mostly that's been because of the offenses they were playing. They were much higher. So maybe they are giving this a little bit more credit. I do think Auburn at home is obviously a little bit more proficient of an offense. And that's probably where they're feeling like they can take advantage of a team like Mississippi State. We shall see. Unbeaten Lake points out a big point here. Please don't rain. Our passing game will be horrible to watch in the rain. You mean it wasn't horrible already? It'll further get that way. Let's see here. What it says is that he's improving, but he is still questionable. Noah, were you talking about quarterback there? I don't know. I lost track of who you were talking about there. Fishing Gaming points out we got over 100 yards passing 2 games in a row, baby. Celebrate it up. So the big question tonight, we'll get there in a second. Will we score or will we get more than 100 yards passing? All right. Trying to make sure. Largest cocktail party in the South. I'll love that, Randy. Let's see. It wouldn't be a good rival if we didn't give each other a hard time, especially when we're not even playing each other, right? Scotty points out, I see a new offensive coordinator next year. I mean, maybe so. Maybe we will see. The performance obviously hasn't been there. I do think, though, that, this is a program and a team that really needs some stability right now. I'm not advocating or saying that the performance that's been put on the field offensively is warranting of a continuance, but we did sign him to a contract, and sometimes those things are honored, even if you don't want them to be. We shall see. How's this for a peace offering? I picked Auburn to beat Mississippi State this week. Well, I hope that wasn't too hard of a pick for you and I hope you don't have any money on that because, I think you're not going to be shocked that I'm probably going to pick Auburn to win this game. It's a little scary though. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just going to be honest. It's just a little bit, it's tough. Okay, so we have talked through the stories, the history of this matchup a little bit, some of the fun and not so fun things that we've talked through, the leaders, the stats, all of that stuff that's listed on ESPN. Obviously, you can find different ones out there. But I do want to talk about getting into now. We're about 25 minutes into the stream, so we do need to get going here. Our predictions. This is where we move into a time. Hold your score predictions, please. Just hold them. Slow down. We're going to get there. Don't jump ahead of the game. We're going to ask these things one at a time. This is all a good exercise to help you all come up with, hopefully, a more informed, more well thought through opinion about what your score prediction should be. So we're going to start with the offense. So we talked through a lot of the stats, expectations, Auburn, how it performs at home versus on the road. This is at home. What I'm asking you, I know this seems a little oxymoronic because you're like asking us for a certain thing, but then telling us not to do the score prediction. How many points do you think that this Auburn team is capable of scoring against this Mississippi State defense at home, 2:30? We're just going to assume it's going to be a little damp because that's what the weather thing on ESPN said. I thought it wasn't going to be, but I was mistaken. At least apparently I was, mistaken. So, how many points do you think that this Auburn offense is capable of scoring against this Mississippi State defense at home? Think through that a little bit. Touchdowns, field goals, pick sixes, kickoff returns. We're going to break that down even further in just a little bit, but think through it a little bit, not just an arbitrary number. To me, I think even as inefficient as our passing defense has been, you're probably going to get at least 2 rushing touchdowns in this game from an Auburn team. We'll talk about the rushing aspect of that. You're probably going to get, I know it seems unlikely. I'm going to predict a passing touchdown. I'm also going to predict that we get a touchdown from somewhere else, meaning a pick six. It's been meant to happen forever. A kickoff return, a punt return, something like that. And then some field goals. So I do think that Auburn's going to score some points in this game. I think this is going to be one of those games where you walk away from it and say, wow, where's that been all season? But then you look back and you go, it was Mississippi State. Let's see here. Now, everybody, this is our eternal optimist, Kevin. And I love you, buddy, but 56 points is just asking too much. It's just asking too much, but I love your optimism. Neil says 32. That's more optimistic than I thought you would be, sir. 21. What else? What else we got here? I don't think you'll be able to join us the whole game. So there you go. 24 to 23 is what you're saying in that range. Gotcha. 17. A pick six by Jalen Simpson. Hold on. We'll get there in a second. To me, I think Auburn can score 31 points. I think it's very capable against this Mississippi State team at home, even with that weather maybe playing a factor. I think 31 points is still a high possibility, especially an offense that's hearing a lot of bad talk about it. This, against a team that's not supposedly stout like some of the other teams we've just got done playing. Georgia, they may want to make a statement and show that they're not at the bottom. That Kevin brought it down to 45 points. He's like, I can curb it a little bit, but not too much. So I think 31. That's not my score prediction, but I think 31 is highly likely for their ceiling, or maybe not ceiling is not even the right word, but maybe where they could find themselves at in a not so surprising fashion. That's kind of how I think about that question. All right, next question for you. Let's break it down. So we talked about how many points the team might score, that offense. On Auburn's offense, How many passing yards and touchdowns for Auburn in this game? Cue your jokes. Go ahead and say what you need to say here. I get it. I understand you're frustrated that you're trying to figure out what's going on with this passing game. The weather is probably going to play a factor. How many passing yards and how many passing touchdowns in this game? Be honest with you, if you say 0, I can't really argue with you. I honestly can't. Neil, don't jump the gun. I didn't ask for rushing yet. Don't do it. You know better than that, Neil. If you say 0 passing yards, I can't really, or not 0 passing yards. That's being ridiculous. If you say 0 passing touchdowns, I can't argue with you because, I mean, they tend to get one every once in a while. Peyton's thrown 5 of them, but it really becomes a question of how many passing yards in this game. Will they get over 100 and will they get over 150? As much, look at the balloons popping up. Where are they coming from? Was that me doing some symbol or something like that? Or somebody send those on Twitch or something? That may have been what that was. Either way, that throws me off every time I see that, because one time I did this and they came up on screen. I want to predict that we're going to break 100 passing yards, but we barely did it last game against what should be a better defense in the last game. You know what? I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm just going to say we get over 100 passing yards. And I'm just going to hope that we get 1 passing touchdown just from somebody, whether it's Robbie, Peyton, maybe throw a halfback pass in there. Maybe we try that Holden Garner play again. Yeah, I don't know where the balloons come from. That's a new feature that has started over the last few weeks. It happened during our post-game show, I think, at Georgia. And it's been throwing me off ever since, but I kind of like it, but it scares me every time it happens for some reason. We got 80 passing yards, minus 25, 2 passing touchdowns. Somebody's got some confidence. 150 passing, 1 passing touchdown, 135. If I have to go somewhere beyond just the generic, we're going to get over 100. I think we could get close to 150. I'll say 140 passing yards, and it'll probably be split amongst the two. You'll probably see Peyton get his 100 or 90, whatever, and then Robbie will get some opportunities to probably throw the ball in this game. And here's the reality. If Auburn does what its potential is, I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot. They could have a lot more passing yards in this game if they take care of business against Mississippi State. WT's here. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. All right, next question. How many rushing yards and how many rushing touchdowns will Auburn have in this game? How many rushing yards and how many rushing touchdowns in this game? Should have a lot more optimism about this. Has the offensive line been stellar? No, but they gave opportunities to guys like Jarquez. Jarquez made a great play on the last game and put his foot in the ground and made a good turn-up field for his longest and most exciting play of the season. I do think that that will hopefully spur him on to a little bit more impressive performances to end the season. If Damari's back, you can expect him. I mean, if he's healthy, he'll play. I just wouldn't expect him to be used a lot. You want to probably ease a young player like that back into something, as costly sometimes as injuries can be for running backs for their futures. So you want to be cautious with them. But you got Brian Battie. You got Jeremiah Cobb. You got some others as well that are probably going to get opportunities. The reality is Auburn could end this game with some great offensive yards comparatively to what it had. Will it happen is the big question. So what do you guys say? Rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. We've got 175, 2 touchdowns. With Alston back, maybe 225. I'm going to step out on a limb, make a prediction. We have a running back get more than 125 rushing yards in this game. I don't know if it'll be Jarquez. I don't know if it'll be Brian Battie, Jeremiah Cobb on a couple of big explosive runs. I don't know that it'll be Damari. Like I said, I would say they ease him back into things. You're probably most likely is Jarquez Hunter, but we'll get 2 rushing rushing touchdowns easily, I think. One from a quarterback, one from a running back situation at a goal line. So those feel like safe picks. Even stepping out and say a running back is going to get 125 in this game. I never thought I'd be like cautiously saying those numbers for Auburn's offense. 200 yards for Hunter, 5 touchdowns. He's calling for a Cadillac Williams type of game against, I think it was Mississippi State when he did that. 2, hopefully 3 for 200. Interesting. 200 rushing, 1 rushing touchdown. There we go. All right, so we got predictions in for that. All right, so let's ask this question then. We asked about yards and touchdowns, but let's talk about specifics on who that is. Who's going to be Auburn's top rusher in this game? Who is it? Honestly, is it Jarquez, Brian Petit? Is Damari going to have an explosive game, even though I've been telling you he's not going to just because of easing him back in? Is it Robbie? If you're discounting Peyton Thorne, you haven't been paying attention because he's been one of our best rushing performances this season, all season. He's not the leader anymore because Jarquez woke up last week, but he has certainly put together some good rushing performances. You'd like to think that maybe Robbie would have one of those explosive mobile quarterback type of games, wouldn't you? The easy answer is Hunter. What do you think? Who's going to be Auburn's leading rusher in this game? I want to take it real easy and say Hunter. I really do. But part of me just feels like it's going to be a quarterback again. And that's me actually saying that we got a running back to 125 yards. I think we could potentially have a quarterback do just about as well. Potentially. Petit, Cobb, Kevin says everybody. Get a little breakdown from Noah. I think you really could just put your guesses anywhere and go from there. Let me ask a much more difficult question. It's our final offensive question for predictions tonight. Who will be your top receiver? I'd say your jokes, say your criticisms, all that stuff. There will be a top receiver because they will complete a pass or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5. We have gotten the ball around to a number of individuals, so it's not just as easy as saying Jay Fair because he's the leading receiver. It's not just as easy as saying Rivaldo Fairweather because he seems to be one of the favorite targets too. Who will it be? I've been asking for who's going to be that third guy because it's been the Fair and Fairweather show from the get-go. Who's it going to be in this game? I see somebody's name popping up already in somebody's prediction that I'd like to see. I'd like to see him have another breakout game. There are a lot of options out there. Camden Brown. I don't know what Javaris Johnson's status is, but he has, again, dealt with injuries a lot this season. Jair Shorter. Forgetting a lot of them because Nick Mardner, they've been hurt. They've been absent. They've been there, but not been utilized, whatever the reason may be. We got a prediction for Fairweather, Cam Brown, Frazier. I think Frazier, if he could, he said Robbie for the top receiver. No, sir. But I guess at this point, whatever works. If it's throwing Robbie out there, sure. I think Robbie, that would be disservice to him at this point. If you've stuck with him as running back 1.0 or 1.1 or whatever, then quarterback 1.1, might as well just not going with it. Caleb Burton's not a bad pick. He's been getting a lot more attention as of late, has earned it in the practice field. This is a great example, folks, of that. For all of you that feel like they're just not changing the quarterback situation just for being stubborn or being stupid, they are showing you here that a player who has showed up in practice will get rewarded by time and utilization out in the field. And Caleb Burton is that story right there. So if you get frustrated with that, if you can't understand why it's not going the way you think it should be at a certain position, don't think it's not because they haven't earned it or if they have not, they're not out there, they haven't earned it yet. You may say, well, we're doing so bad. What does it matter? If you create that kind of culture, it's hard to break that once you've opened that up Pandora's box. All right, defense now. I think we kind of need to get going here too, so we'll try to move through this somewhat briskly. Defense. How many points will Auburn's defense allow to this Mississippi State team in Jordan Hare? 2:30 kickoff. Assume it might be a little damp, which would probably play a little bit into their passing scheme as well. Will Rogers being a better passer? We don't know if he's going to be here. Here would be my assumption. I never heard anything about the specificity of his injury. Seemed to me like if it's uncertain, there's a hope that he will return. You probably should bank on him being there, but not being 100%, because they are trying to get bowl eligible too. And they know how important this game is to them getting bowl eligible, just like Auburn. We didn't talk about that at the beginning, but this is a huge game for both programs right now. How many points, not touchdowns? I'm not asking for the breakdown of that, yards, any of that. I'm asking how many points will the defense hold Mississippi State to in this game? Think about that in terms of touchdowns when you're answering it, in terms of field goals, what they're capable of, what you know about their offense. If you need a reminder of sorts, I can give you that. They are they are getting 350 yards per game, more of those on the passing side, but not by much. And Auburn's allowing 371. So it's going to be pretty even there. So if Auburn holds them to 350 yards, that's kind of like the sweet spot there where it could go either way for either team. I would say if Auburn holds them to 350 yards at Jordan Hare, that's a good sign for probably Auburn. Anything more than that, oh, buddy, could get bad. Let's see here. I think I still had this thing up here. 17 points, 4 points. So 2 safeties. Don't wish that evil on us, sir. Don't wish another safety game from the Auburn Mississippi State thing. We're getting more folks back. It seems like that's happening. I'm not sure. They don't score more than 7. I give a little bit more credit than that. You guys are being very, 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 very hopeful that what happened against Arkansas will happen again. From what I remember, Arkansas was supposed to have a pretty decent defense. I don't think Mississippi State's going to score a whole lot of points, but I feel like they're going to get 2 touchdowns and probably a field goal. So I'm feeling like the 17, maybe I could see them pushing into the low 20s range for this game. Probably so. I don't know. Just kind of how it feels right now. All right, next question for you. How many passing yards? Hold your horses. I'm not asking for rushing yet. How many passing yards, how many passing touchdowns will Mississippi State get against this Auburn defense in this game? Keep in mind, we don't know if Will Rogers is going to be here, which would drastically alter your prediction here. What I'm advising you to plan on is him playing if he's able to go, but not being 100%. Factor that in with the rain. We allow more, not by much, but more passing yards. And it's still a pretty good passing defense. And Auburn's defensive back group looked like they were all, back last week. So that's pretty good. I see you, Efficient Gaming. No regrets at this point. I hear you. How many passing yards, passing touchdowns will they have? 2. So 2 passing touchdowns. There you go. You clarified. 120 passing, 2 touchdowns. I got to think that they're going to get more than that simply because, they're playing an Auburn team right now that's reeling a little bit. We're going to make a few mistakes. We've shown that we'll get off to pretty rough starts, even at home, but we'll clamp it down. I think Auburn is its most vulnerable, home or away, in those first 2 drives. And you'll see in those first 2 drives a touchdown. It'll probably be passing, even though I'm very high on our defensive back group. So I'll say they'll get 2 passing touchdowns. Yeah, that feels about right. I'm going to give them more credit than they probably deserve, but I'm going to say 2 passing touchdowns, probably in the 150 to 175 range passing yardage. Probably, I'm going to say 175 to be safe. 175, 2 passing touchdowns. Maybe that's split between two quarterbacks because who knows if Will Rogers will play, much less be 100%. Especially if he comes in not 100%, gets knocked around and gets banged out of there. All right, how many rushing yards will there be for Mississippi State against this Auburn defense? How many rushing touchdowns as well with that? At Jordan Hare, 230. What you know about this offense, what you know about this defense, their bread and butter is not their rushing attack. Auburn's bread and butter is not necessarily, even though they're allowing fewer rushing yards, their rushing defense. Marcus Harris has stepped up a lot over this mid part of the season. I think he's starting to really create some havoc in the middle. It's what I've been hoping for him, especially as a guy who's been around here for quite some time. Really gotten excited every single time I've seen him create some havoc back there. Falk's kind of coming along. There's a lot of things to be excited about about the rush attack. Eugene Asante coming in there and plugging things up. Larry Nixon too. With as many injuries and maybe not people on the line rising to stardom as much as you would hope, it hasn't been horrible. It absolutely hasn't been horrible. 80 yards, 0. Let's see. Auburn stopped the run against Ole Miss. They did. Somewhat. Enough. 85 and 0. 150 rushing, 1 touchdown. Both teams have to get out of their comfort zone this weekend. Scotty thinks 225 rushing, but no touchdowns. Red zone defense. If they score, they have to do it in the red zone, passing the ball. Not bad. I'll say 200 rushing and 1 rushing touchdown. So if you think about it, I predicted, roughly doing the math, 375 total yards that we gave up offensively and alone, and 21 points thus far. That kind of gets you to an idea of where I'm thinking our score might be for this game. So we'll keep going from there. Couple more things in defense. Ooh, we got to move. Who's going to be the top tackler? Who do you think is going to be the top tackler for this Auburn defense in this game? A lot of names to consider there. As I've made a case for you, Marcus Harris has risen to the occasion, was, I think, the second leading tackler in this game. Larry Nixon should be in your thoughts. Eugene Asante. Some of these defensive backs coming up and making plays. Donovan Kaufman should be in your thoughts. There's a lot of players that you could consider to be the top tackler in this game for Auburn. But I know the name that sticks in front of everybody's mind because he's been the star. Let's work. Eugene Asante. I think that's probably going to be the one that everybody picks now to the end of time because he's the one thing that's been like super happy for everybody this year. I do think Eugene Asante will be up there in the top group, but I'm going to hope that Marcus Harris proves me wrong about that 200 yards rushing and just wrecks havoc again and continues to build. He got a recognition for something. I think it was how he graded out from some group organization that does those things this week, and Auburn recognized that. I'm going to say Marcus Harris. I think I said it last week, but I think you would hope that your defensive tackle is not your leading tackler, but if he's playing like he has been, he could be up there. Nearly did it last week. Kaufman. There you go. Maybe Kaufman. I'm going to say Marcus Harris. All right. This question, you can answer it however you'd like, but this is like the special defensive plays question. This has kind of been where Auburn has made its opportunities to be in games, win games, not be destroyed. The last question for defense, how many sacks will Auburn get? How many fumbles? How many interceptions? You can break that down to fumble recoveries and fumble caused. Pick sixes, are there any pick sixes in there? What do you think? I would advise you to plan on Auburn getting at least 1 interception. I think it's only happened 1 game this season where they didn't get an interception. So you need to plan on them getting an interception, and it'll probably be DJ James, Jalen Simpson. At least if they don't get the interception, causing havoc to where somebody else picks it off like Jalen did for, I think it was it Zion who got it? on that one. But anyway, you should plan for an interception. It feels like in the course of the game, you can plan on a fumble, but sacks, this is where we really could make hay, especially if Will Rogers isn't playing and not able to get the ball out as quick. This other guy, maybe not as experienced. That could be where Auburn makes the difference. I'm going to predict they have a great sack game at home. Feels like a 6-sack game. 6 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble. Recovery from me. 1 fumble recovery, maybe 2 caused. I think Auburn's going to have a good specialty category game. If you're asking for my opinion, 1 interception, 7 interceptions. You're calling for a greater than the Auburn LSU game. 4 sacks, 3 interceptions. Kevin's just having fun at this point. I love it. All right. Special teams. Wow, it is already 8:50. All right, special teams. How many punts is Auburn going to have? Pretty much every other game, you could expect a ton of punts, which is usually not a good sign for your offense. How many punts in this game do you think Auburn's going to have? Kind of my rule is if we get to 5 punts on the road, especially, that's not a good sign. I think if Auburn can stay under 5 punts in this game, they can be in a really good position to win it against this type of team. Because that means they've only spoiled without turnovers 4 opportunities in the game. So answer that if you'd like. How many field goals attempted and made in this game? I feel like we'll attempt 1 and make 1. So at the very bare minimum, and Alec McPherson has been pretty solid this year. So I would say that you should feel good about the odds, if attempted, of it being made. So think about that. How many field goals attempted and made, and then how many kick returns, punt returns for touchdowns, or just a great field position. What do you think about that? Any other thoughts that you have about the special teams unit? I know we focus on the offense. I know we focus on the defense, but a team like Auburn that has really struggled this year, it's got to make some of its hay in these categories. Making sure you stay solid on field goals, getting great punts from Oscar Chapman, but only causing him to do them a few times throughout the game. And then also, they can just make a special teams wow play with some of these athletes they have. Man, that would be so good. 4 punts, 3 punts, 5 field goals. Hope not, because that means we're not scoring touchdowns. 2 field goals made. I have been predicting all season that we're going to get a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown. I'm going to stop predicting it so it'll happen. Because I feel like I'm the reverse jinx at this point. I think we'll attempt 2 field goals and make them. I think we will. And I think we'll stay below 5 punts. And I don't know. I'm going to predict that we don't have a kick or punt return because I'm doing the reverse juju on it. So with that in mind, with that being said, we have now reached the point in the show, almost at the direct end here, because I let us go a little longer tonight, for your score predictions. Your final score prediction. Lock it in right now. What do you think? Mississippi State score, Auburn score, Jordan-Hare, 2:30, Saturday, possible rain, 2 teams, the bottom of the SEC and the SEC West. Somebody here's bowl outlook is going to get much dimmer after this game. What do you say it is for Auburn versus Mississippi State? Post it now. Lock it in. I'm going to give you mine. If you've been playing along and paying attention to what I've been saying, you're going to hear probably me. It may contradict some things that I said, but I've been kind of, as we've been talking through things, maybe backtracking a little bit here. I feel like we're going to get 27-21. Auburn beats Mississippi State in Jordan-Hare. My gut, I'll be honest with you, my gut tells me we win by more and convincingly more. But because of what I've seen out in the field thus far this season, offensively especially, I just got to believe that, all right, I just got to make myself not follow my gut at this point. Not from a lack of faith, not from a lack of belief that this team is capable of more. It is just me trying to, A, look more credible, but B, not look like an idiot, because this is the guy that said we would never get below 100 passing yards again, and we did it. So sometimes you live and you learn. 31-17 Auburn, 31-24. I do like the 31 score for Auburn. Even that's how I said they're capable of scoring that against Mississippi State. I'm just going to say we do a little bit less than that, 27. 31-17 seems to be very popular. 31 points, 41-14. If that's the score, Kevin, I will love it. 34-7 Auburn. Auburn gets one touchdown on defense with an interception. That would be fun. Boog away, sir. Whatever that means. I'm not hip to the groove. I've seen that's been going around, especially like on YouTube lately. I've just not been paying attention to that. So there you have it. My score prediction locked in. 27-21 Auburn beats Mississippi State and makes their bowl outlook, at least making a bowl game, much more favorable going forward. So what's on your mind? Final 4 minutes here. Go ahead and ask any comments or questions that you might have. I can hit them real rapid fire here. Let me give you guys the lowdown on what's going to be going down here. I do not know if I'll be on campus this week. I am hoping to. The plan is at this moment to be there, but that could drastically change. As I've told you, we have had a very busy season of life here at the house and just E2C Network headquarters. And that is still continuing. So things just kind of change on a dime. So hoping to be there and give you the full experience across social media. But we haven't even put up anything like our Tiger Walk live stream yet, just because we're kind of figuring some things out. So I just ask for patience. Stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be broadcasting to you live from campus Friday and Saturday for some good stuff there. Kevin says, I'm going to see you November 18th. Hope so as well. Tiger Walk is let me give you the rule of thumb, Noah, 2 hours before every kickoff. Unless otherwise stated, that is always the rule of thumb. So just find the kickoff 2 hours before that. It's 2:30, so it'll be 11:30. And I will tell you that this is not a critique in any way of Coach Freeze or anything like that, or like I'm defending Coach Harsin. I'm just telling you what their tendencies were. Coach Harsin was from what I can remember, always early to Tiger Walk. I mean, if you weren't in your spot 5 minutes prior to Tiger Walk beginning, you might have missed them, especially if you were up towards the front wanting to be there. I would say Coach Freeze has been pretty, not late, but later a lot of times. So make sure you keep that in mind for your Tiger Walk experience too. If you're planning on being there. Please, folks, if you're going to be in town, I know last week was the weekend to be in Auburn. There was so much happening. It's such a fun weekend. But I know there's not a lot. There's still equestrian in town tomorrow. And sometimes the slower Auburn weekends are a little bit, I think baseball's got some open practices if you want to go to those. I know that, this may not feel like the most exciting Auburn football weekend, but folks, we are 7 games into the season. It's almost over. Don't disappoint. Do not disappoint yourself from an opportunity to come to campus, to experience the loveliest village on the plains. Still the best, even in the rough times as well. Final thoughts, questions, get them in right now. Rapid fire here at the end. And check out those links in the description for ways that you can help support us here at E2C Network. You can become a channel member here, which gets you access to the Discord, other things as well, depending on which level you select. And we hope that you will help us keep the lights on. The best way you do that, though, is be here. Smash the like button. Oh, it worked that time. Look at it. It worked. So apparently it's me that does this. Smash the like button. Does it do it again? No. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how to trigger it, but it does it from time to time. Smash the like button. All that stuff. You guys continue to be the best little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you being here, spending some time with me. Stay tuned to social media, YouTube, all that stuff, for we're in town this weekend. Hope to see you there. If I don't, we'll catch up very, very soon. Until I talk to you again. War Eagle.